Welcome to the Legal Gangsta Network, where we simplify the Texas justice system and help you stay informed. Whether you're here to learn or take action, you're in the right place. Now, let's dive into today's broadcast.
Ready for a clean slate, a total fresh start here in Harris County, Texas.
It can feel like a maze trying to figure out this erasing your record thing.
It definitely can.
But that's what we're diving into today.
It is, trying to make sense of it all, and hopefully make it less intimidating.
Absolutely.
We're turning to a really interesting guide for this one.
Okay.
It's called the 10-Step Do-It-Yourself, Erase Your Criminal Record Digital Interactive Guide.
Catchy title.
Right. And it's created by Sean Lacey,
Okay.
also known as M's officer.
I like it. M's officer.
Yeah, she's a former peace officer, and she's taken her personal experiences with the justice system and turned them into a mission to really empower others, which is fantastic.
And that personal connection really comes through even from the dedication. Yeah, it's dedicated to her great-grandfather, who was actually executed in Texas, and her brothers, who had their own, run-ins with the law.
Oh, wow.
You can really feel the personal stake she has in this, which makes the guide that much more powerful.
It's one thing to have like a textbook, approach to it.
Right.
But to have that personal connection, that empathy woven through it,
Exactly.
must make a huge difference.
It does. It does. It really adds a layer of, understanding that you don't always find in these types of guides.
So our mission for this deep dive is to equip you with the knowledge to actually navigate this process yourself.
Okay.
We're really going to try to focus on the crucial elements that directly impact you.
Essentially, we're trying to cut through all the legal jargon
Oh, there's a lot of that.
and give you the tools to understand your options.
Yes, and there are options. We're talking about expungement and an order of non-disclosure.
Two very different things.
Very different. Think of expungement like hitting delete on a computer file, like
Yeah.
it never even happened.
Legally, if you qualify, it's as if the whole thing never happened.
Gone. Poof.
And that's huge for people who were maybe acquitted, had charges dismissed, or were never even charged in the first place, but still have that arrest on their record.
That's very frustrating.
It is. It really is. And that's where expungement comes in, offering that true, clean slate.
Now, an order of non-disclosure, that's a little different.
A little bit, yeah. It's more like, when you move a file into a hidden folder on your computer.
Okay, so it's there, but not easy to find.
Exactly. The record still exists. It's just sealed from the general public.
So it's not going to pop up on like a routine background check?
Exactly.
I know.
And this is generally an option for people who successfully completed maybe a deferred adjudication program, probation, or certain misdemeanor convictions.
Okay, so this is where Lacey's guide gets really, really interesting for me.
Okay, how so?
She meticulously breaks down who qualifies for each option, and she dives into all the Texas legal codes, which can be a bit of a rabbit hole.
They're definitely complex.
She makes it understandable, which I appreciate. For instance, I had no idea that even if you were arrested and never charged, that arrest could still be on background checks.
Oh, absolutely. It's a common misconception.
It shouldn't be, but it is.
That's why understanding the difference between an arrest record and an actual conviction is so important.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's really where Lacey's guide shines. It helps you figure out where you fall in all of this.
And she has these online assessments on her website, right?
She does, yeah. It's like a preliminary eligibility checker.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you can get a sense of whether you might qualify before you even start digging through paperwork.
Exactly. It's all about empowering people with information right from the start.
I love that. Knowledge is power, especially when you're dealing with something as potentially intimidating as the justice system.
Absolutely.
Now, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we got to talk about eligibility,
The foundation of the whole process.
because that's really the make or break factor here.
It is. It's like making sure you have the right key before you try to open a door.
And it's not always as straightforward as it seems. It's not just about whether you were convicted or not, right?
Right. It hinges on the nature of the offense, the outcome of the case, even how specific Texas laws are written.
Like, let's say you were arrested but never actually charged.
It happens more often than you think.
Right. But that arrest record alone can have real consequences.
Oh, absolutely. Jobs, housing, loans, it can impact everything.
It's like this shadow following you around even though you were never found guilty of anything.
Exactly.
But here's the interesting part. In Texas, you might be eligible for an expunction even if you were never formally charged.
That's a game changer.
Right.
Well,
It's like, wait, there's hope.
There is. And that's what I love about Lacey's guide. It uncovers these nuances that can make a world of difference.
And that's why we're here, to shed light on those nuances.
Now, on the flip side, Let's say you were convicted of something, even a misdemeanor. It doesn't automatically disqualify you from everything.
Okay, good to know.
This is where the whole distinction between expunction, that legal do-over, and an order of non-disclosure comes into play.
Right, the hidden folder versus deleted file analogy.
Exactly. And again, Lacey's guide breaks it all down scenario by scenario. Like, did you know that completing a deferred adjudication program might make you eligible for an order of non-disclosure even if you were convicted?
I did not know that. See, this is why we need this guide.
It's full of those aha moments.
It's like finding those secret shortcuts in a video game that unlock a whole new level.
I like that analogy. And remember those online assessments we talked about?
Oh yeah, those are clutch.
They can really help you figure out where you stand before you even dive into the paperwork.
So let's say you've done your research. You've figured out what you might be eligible for.
What's next?
The dreaded paperwork.
Laughing. Unfortunately, there's always paperwork.
Wouldn't be a legal process without it, right?
Yeah.
But Lacey tries to make it as painless as possible.
Oh, absolutely. She breaks down each form and document, explains what it's for, what needs to be included.
Like having a personal assistant, but in paper form.
Exactly. She even gives you examples and tips.
Oh, that's helpful.
Yeah, it's like she's sitting there with you, holding your hand through the whole thing.
Well, not literally, but you know what I mean.
Of course. It's all about making you feel less alone in the process.
Because it can feel very lonely, especially when you're dealing with legal stuff.
Absolutely. It's like navigating a maze blindfolded sometimes.
Right. But having a guide like this can make all the difference.
It's like having a map and a flashlight.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about this paperwork. It's more than just filling out forms, right?
Right. It's about building your case.
Okay, I like that. Building your case. So you're presenting yourself the reasons why you deserve a clean slate and backing it up with the right documents.
It's about showing the court that you're not just going through the motions.
Yeah, that you're serious about this.
That you understand what this opportunity means.
And Lacey actually includes a statement of inability to afford payment, which I thought was really important to highlight.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. Court fees can be a major barrier for people.
Absolutely. And for many, it can feel like, well, is it even worth trying then?
Exactly. And that's what she addresses head on. She provides a template for this statement because, let's be realistic, not everyone can afford those fees.
It's about making justice accessible to everyone.
Exactly, regardless of their financial situation.
Okay, back to the paperwork itself. This is where those pre-filled online forms come in handy.
Oh, they're a lifesaver.
Tell me about it.
It's so easy to miss something small on these legal documents. A missing date, an unchecked box, and boom.
Delayed.
Exactly. But these templates, they guide you every step of the way.
Like having those little tooltips pop up on your computer screen, but for legal forms.
Exactly. Okay, so you've got your paperwork all filled out, everything signed, dated, and you're feeling good.
What's next? Where do all these forms go?
Well, for expunction petitions, you'll be sending everything to the Harris County District Clerk's office.
Okay, and by sending, we mean like physically mailing it. Or can you do it online?
For this one, you're going to need to mail it in or drop it off in person.
Okay, so old school snail mail it is.
But make sure you make at least 2 copies of everything. One for your records and one for the court.
Always a good idea to have backups when it comes to legal stuff. Now, you mentioned expunction petitions specifically. What about those seeking an order of non-disclosure? Where does their paperwork go?
For that, you'll also be filing with the Harris County District Clerk's office. But, and this is important for felony cases, you'll need to take an extra step.
Okay, what's the extra step?
Before you file the petition, you need to contact the court coordinator of the specific court that handled your case.
So you can't just send it in. You have to talk to someone first.
For felony cases, yes. Think of it like a heads up.
Okay, so they're expecting it. What are you supposed to say when you call?
Essentially, you're requesting a hearing date from the court before you submit your petition.
A hearing. So there's a chance you might have to go to court for this.
It's a possibility. We'll get to that in a minute, but don't worry.
I'll go.
Lacey provides an email template for this, too.
She thinks of everything.
She really does. It's amazing. Okay, so you filed your petition. You've contacted the court coordinator if you needed to. Now it's just a waiting game, right?
The hardest part for some people.
Definitely tests your patience. It might take a while to hear back, but remember,
That's that.
this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Okay, so be patient.
Exactly. Good things come to those who wait, right?
That's what they say. Okay, let's say you've been waiting, and finally you get that notice. Time for a court appearance.
Now, before you panic,
Already panicking?
not everyone will have to appear in court.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
So when is it required?
Usually it's for more complex cases, or if there's something being contested in your petition.
Okay, that makes sense. But for those who do have to go to court, any advice? What should they expect?
Well, first of all, dress to impress. First impressions matter.
Like you're going for a job interview.
Kind of, yeah. You want to show the judge that you're taking this seriously?
Respect the process.
Exactly. Be on time, be polite, and listen carefully to the judge's instructions. And whatever you do,
Don't be that person.
don't let your phone go off in the courtroom.
That's never a good look.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in court. You're presenting your case. What's the goal here? What are you trying to achieve?
This is your opportunity to humanize your petition.
What do you mean?
The judge sees a lot of these forms, right? But you're more than just a name on a piece of paper.
Right.
This is your chance to show them that you're a real person with a real story who's made mistakes but is genuinely committed to moving forward.
So it's about making that personal connection.
Exactly. It can make a huge difference.
I bet it does. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. You've filed your petition.
Yeah.
You've had your court appearance, if necessary, and the judge makes a decision. Drum roll, please.
The moment of truth.
What happens if the judge rules in your favor? You're home free, right?
Well, not quite. You're legally clear, but remember those private background check companies we talked about?
The ones that seem to keep everything.
Exactly. They operate on their own timeline, so even though the court has cleared your record...
It might not be updated everywhere yet.
Exactly. It's like you've crossed the finish line, but they're still showing you a lap behind.
Talk about frustrating.
Incredibly frustrating. But Lacey addresses this too. She gives you a game plan for updating those private records.
Okay, so there are steps you can take to make sure everything is actually wiped clean.
Yes. She even provides links to resources that can help, like the Foundation for Continuing Justice.
So it's not over until it's really, really over?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what happens after that? After your record is cleared, what does life look like then? That's what I'm most curious about.
Me too. We've talked about the legal stuff, but what about the personal side of things? How do you actually rebuild your life after all of this?
That's where it gets really personal, right? It's not just about paperwork and court dates anymore. It's about dealing with the emotional weight of it all.
Because it's got to be heavy. That's a lot to carry around.
Absolutely. We're talking about facing your past, dealing with the stigma that might come with having a record, even if it's been cleared.
And trying to navigate a system that can feel very impersonal at times.
It's a lot to handle emotionally, no doubt about it. And while Lacey's guide focuses mainly on the legal aspects, she does touch upon this idea of self-care and seeking support.
Which is huge. You can't separate the emotional from the legal. They're intertwined.
Exactly. She emphasizes that this is a process, it takes time, and it's okay to ask for help along the way.
Because a lot of people probably think, okay, my record's clear, I should be good, right? But it's not always that simple.
Right. Those feelings of doubt, fear, even shame, they don't just disappear overnight. It's important to acknowledge those emotions and find healthy ways to cope.
And having a support system can make a world of difference, right?
Absolutely. Whether it's friends, family, a therapist, even a support group.
It's about knowing you're not alone in this.
Exactly. There are people who understand what you're going through, who've been there, and come out stronger on the other side.
And that can be incredibly powerful. Okay, so let's talk about that other side. Let's say you've gone through the entire process, your record is clear, you're feeling good.
What does rebuilding your life actually look like?
Yeah, how do you translate that clean slate on paper into tangible changes?
That's where Lacey's guide becomes less of a step-by-step manual and more of a source of inspiration and encouragement.
So less about rules, more about possibilities.
Exactly. It's about taking that newfound freedom and shaping it into the life you want to live.
Which, let's be honest, might have seemed out of reach before.
Absolutely. A criminal record, even one that's been cleared, can cast a long shadow. But now you have the opportunity to step out of that shadow and create something new.
Whether it's pursuing a career you thought you couldn't have,
Or maybe it's about mending relationships that were strained.
or simply feeling confident enough to walk into a room and introduce yourself without that weight on your shoulders.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming your narrative, defining who you are now, not who you were then.
And that's a powerful thing.
It is. It's about second chances, fresh starts, and recognizing that your past does not define you.
It's about taking control of your future.
And writing your own story.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into erasing your criminal record in Harris County.
Guided by the amazing Shawn Lacey, an NSI's officer herself.
Yes. Her guide is truly a game changer. What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
That there is hope, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Having a criminal record doesn't mean your life is over.
It might feel that way sometimes, but it's not true.
It's not. It's a chapter in your story, but it doesn't have to define the whole book.
And with the right resources and support,
You can turn the page and start writing a new chapter.
a chapter full of possibility and opportunity.
You are not alone on this journey.
You've got this.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive.
Thanks for tuning into the Legal Gangsta Network. Remember, this content is for informational and educational purposes only, not legal advice. If you found it helpful, like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you're looking to get your criminal record expunged or sealed in Harris County, visit Erasio Record at erasiorecord.com. That's ERASEYORECORD.com. Stay tuned and informed, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.